Hello, hello everyone. It's been a minute because Jay-Z was in Aruba. How how could you leave us for Aruba? Just kidding. Did you have a good trip?
Oh my God, I had the best time and I got to hang out with my friend Claudia, which was amazing. Oh, and I gave her that book in person, the one about yeah, non-duality and whether or not there is free will.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll get to hear from her what she thinks about that book.
Because we were talking about that in the Enlightenment series on Thursdays of like, is there free will and, duality is a big thing. I was just preparing for that earlier today, so.
What is that
Oh
book?
no.
What is the name of that book?
Oh, I can't remember it at this
Enlightenment for
moment.
the lazy.
No,
Oh
that
yeah.
one I have.
Yeah, that one. The one, no, the book that I brought and left with Claudia, it's The Myth of I gotta remember. Can't remember.
Okay, I'll get it later.
So I have something to show you guys because I went to Texas and I was in the airport and I bought us a present, all of us. It's a manifestation pad. And
Oh, you're
What?
kidding.
I can
What?
send these to you guys in the mail when you're trying to manifest something.
Oh, that's cool. What does it have on it?
So
That's
it says,
cool.
sorry, it says intention. So set a clear intention to bring to life. So you write that here. Then it's visualization. Close your eyes and visualize this intention as your reality. And then it says record what came to mind, draw or describe. Then it says list three things you're grateful for in relation to your intention, list three mindset stuff. And then there's all this like stuff to do, actions to take Monday through Friday on your intention.
Wow. You found that in the airport?
Yes. I
Wow.
actually didn't get it because it was a little expensive for me because it's airport prices, And so I was
Yeah,
like, oh, no, no. So then I looked on Amazon, tried to find something similar. I couldn't. So I went back and got it when I got home. And I was like,
that's so great. Oh, the airport here.
yeah, isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
That is really cool.
And I thought I could send one to you guys. And then if anyone at the Moira Press was trying to manifest something, we could send them one.
Oh yeah, we could do a manifestation workshop.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you could
Nice.
everybody in the workshop could try and manifest the same thing and see what happens.
Hmm.
That's actually a really good idea. Like test it against a control. Well, it's not against a control, and then you can test against the control of somebody not trying to manifest it.
Yeah.
Ooh, or you try to manifest opposites and see who wins
Oh
on
my God,
Mars
I want to
transit.
do this. This is crazy.
That's so great.
Okay. All right. Well, we are on Real Magic by Wayne Dyer, creating miracles in everyday life. And I guess I am the guider of the conversation. And we are on the section on some suggestions for becoming a spiritual being. Last episode, we looked at a summary of the spiritual dozen, which are 10 or 12 ways that spiritual beings act versus non-spiritual beings. Like spiritual beings are utilize multidimensional thinking and non-spiritual beings live in the five senses. Like there's a list like that. So if you're
Right.
interested in that, watch the last episode of this series. But today we're talking about some suggestions for becoming a spiritual being. So if you've decided that you like the list of what it's like to be spiritual and you want to become more spiritual, today we're going to learn how to do that.
Mhm.
Okay. So let me ask you guys just out of the book, like, do you feel that you are spiritual beings or non-spiritual beings?
Oh, I'm going with spiritual being because I actually think we're all spiritual beings, but again, maybe it was just like his weird definition of like dividing into spiritual beings. I think his it's more like spiritual acting beings or spiritual non-acting beings or something. I don't know.
Well, I think I'm leaning toward wanting to be a spiritual being. I don't know if I'm there yet because I think I no, I have spirit. Yeah, I think it's not black and white for me. I have spiritual tendencies, but often I become too anchored in the non-spiritual, and I can't release that.
You're definitely a very philosophical being. Like, I don't know, are philosophical and spiritual similar?
I really don't know. I feel like I'm philosophical too, but I don't know if they're the same or similar.
Hmm. I guess literally spiritual would be pertaining to the spirit.
Yeah,
So a spiritual person could be somebody who looks into the spirit of humans as opposed to just I don't know.
which I try to do. But
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
I think really meshes with the philosopher's vibe, is because it's not about just the physical things that are in front of your face, but you think about abstract concepts. So that I would say was spiritual.
okay, I'll take that. I actually think about abstract concepts more than the logistics. And that's why my logistics are all messed up.
What about you, Andy?
Well, I think astrology is a spiritual study. I mean, because it looks into the spirit of a person. It's a wiring of your chakras and aura. So I feel like that is a spirit. It's like spiritual mathematics, emotional geometry. So it,
Yeah.
it's funny because I grew up as a Christian Scientist of all things, and it's like that's like a scientist of Christianity. But yeah, I would say I'm kind of a spiritual mathematician. So, but it is spiritual, right? It's like, and I am wearing my cross with wings. I do love spiritual things. I
Yes.
love spiritualism. I just love, like when people say something like, "Oh, my heart is closed," or I don't know, like I just see things in terms of chakras a lot naturally. Like I can
Hmm.
feel auras, so it's like it's really easy to be a spiritual person when you're like can feel people's spirit, So I think yeah, I think I've been forced to look at spiritualism because of how my mechanical body is made. You know what I mean? But I love it. I love God and I love universal thinking, honestly.
I think I'm inclined towards spiritualism, but I don't trust it. It's not that I don't trust it, but I don't trust what I'm experiencing. Like I think I can see a spiritual moment, but then I second guess myself and think, oh, that can't be right.
Hmm. Yeah, they say that like the only difference between people like you'll see something like magical happen and one person says, "Well, that was magical," and the other person says that was a coincidence. And like that
Right,
is the two different ways
right,
of looking, basically.
right. But I
Yeah.
like to see, I'm looking for the magic in things. And magic often to me is anything poetic, you know, the mist on the river near where I live and the sun going through clouds and that's magic. And it's also poetic. I think they're all intertwined.
I
It
think the
might
sun
even be
going through
spiritual.
I think the sun going through clouds is just a coincidence. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm blessed because I can tell
Right.
because I have a little thing that says blessed.
It says so. Right. So you can say,
So,
geez, am I, am I blessed? Oh, yeah, look,
yep.
right there.
I
Why do
wear
I
one that
feel
says
blessed? Oh, right. Yeah, that's why.
I wear one that just says coincidence.
That's really funny. Oh my God, that would be so funny.
Okay. The first thing to become a spiritual being is to prove to yourself that you are more than a five sensory being.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult one for me to wrap my head around. It
Hmm.
says, feel beyond your sense of taste, sight, hearing, smell, and touch.
Ah,
The
yeah.
what?
What about do you don't think you have a sixth sense?
Well, sure, but those other senses don't take much work.
Hmm.
I mean, if I pour paprika down my throat, I don't have to think about turning on my sense of taste there. But the sixth sense is work.
Well, what about intuition? What about when you really feel like I should do this thing, or I'm doing this thing, but I know it's not a good idea. Like that comes unsolicited, maybe.
It does. Is that what they mean beyond the sense of taste, sight, hearing, smell, and touch?
Yeah, I guess
I don't really know, but I don't know what is beyond. What is beyond?
what about does a gut feeling is a gut feeling like intuition? Like what about a gut feeling?
Yeah. No, I would say that.
Yeah.
And the bigger the gut, the more intuition.
Well, what if the gut doesn't feel anything? It's big, but it has no feeling.
Then you need some more probiotics.
Well, I think also hearkening the vision realm,
That's
like
funny.
dreams and visions, would be also kind of beyond the five senses.
Oh yeah, dreams and visions, yeah. Yeah, and like the part that he was saying in the 12 whatever's uh it is that like our dream world is not like logical cause and effects that go along with Newtonian physics, right? Like
Right.
so you can in your dream be, 17 in one scene, and then in the next scene you're 40, and then in the next scene you're a child, right? So uh that I think is like just going along with what you were saying, Andy, about like visions and dreams, right? Those are not your five senses that follow the laws of the science that we know right now, right?
Yeah, because anything can happen in dream realm. Like, and that's why, and it's Fern's really good at this, is living as if the dream is the reality. You know what I mean? So it's like, like in her dream, she's like, I'm my $2 million house, and like she's like, that is my reality. And sometimes you don't know how to talk to a person like that because you're like, do I talk to you as the dream or the reality? Like, but I
Mhm.
do think anything we can imagine is real in our mind, and that is magical.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And then he even gave this quote from Thoreau, which I really loved, about Thoreau summed up all of this up nicely with his provocative observation. And the quote is, I do not know how to distinguish between our waking life and a dream. Are we not always living the life that we imagine we are?
Yeah, that is a good one.
Lumiere, do you dream?
I do.
Do you
My
hearken your dreams?
do I what?
Hearken them?
No, they're not. I think they're not. My dreams lately have not been. And I dream when I have the luxury of dreaming. Like I really don't dream every morning because I have to fly up in a hurry and do all the things. But my dreams are usually not prophetic. They're very often about me trying to find something, get out of something, look for something, and finding obstacles in my way.
Oh, you don't want to hearken that dream.
No, no,
Well,
no. I often have dreams about where I'm in a building. I've gotten into a building looking for something and then trying to get to it or get out. The building gets smaller and smaller.
whoa. Well, I heard this theory. Tell me what you think of this, that your dreams are your subconscious allowing you to practice different ways of handling something. So it keeps throwing it at you in slightly different ways. And it's like, so it gives you the occasion to practice this so that when those occasions happen in your life, you get to react in a way that maybe comes with better practice.
Hmm,
Hmm.
interesting.
Well, that in my case, that makes sense. I'm constantly placed in a similar, not the same, but similar situation.
Well, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
This ties to the next one. It says to help you experience yourself as a multisensory being, test the power of your mind on something that you perceive to be difficult. So visualize yourself doing something such as improving a golf swing, not having a drink at a cocktail party, jogging 1 mile, baking a cake for the first time, or spending a Saturday afternoon in a movie theater with your 5-year-old. Picture anything that seems tough or unusual for you to accomplish. Um, Describe it in detail and write it or record it on tape. They do the Olympians do this, right? They visualize themselves, winning over and over as part of their practice.
Do they?
Yeah,
Didn't
I
know
think
that.
they did studies about like free throws in basketball, and they had like the control group, like, well, maybe they had one group not do anything. They had another group practice throwing free throws a lot. They had
Hmm.
another group that sat there and thought about doing free throws. And the group that did the free throws and the group that thought about it performed equally well and better than the ones that didn't do anything.
Hmm.
Fascinating.
I used to interpret many years ago for a cross country coach. And when he first started the season, he would have people on the team break a piece of wood with their palm. And he told them that cross country was the same thing. You don't think about hitting the wood, you think about your hand past the wood. And once you start doing that, and I saw this happen, people started, he said, visualize your hand on the other side. And when they started to do that, they could break it.
Hmm, interesting.
All the students on the team. So uh, it's somewhat similar.
So he's kind of making the case that to be a spiritual being, you have to make, I don't know, friends with your vision realm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly what that is, but sure.
Fantasia,
Yeah,
right?
the Fantasia, the Greek realm of visions. Yeah. So he says to get acquainted with the reality of your invisible world, question the pure physical evidence reported by your five senses. Your senses tell you that the world is flat, which is a delusion. Your senses tell you that the world is standing still and you are moving upon it. But you know the world is traveling at dizzying speed, spinning on its axis and hurtling thousands of miles through space. So question the pure physical evidence reported by your five senses. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, there's a lot there because it's like we could go into like exercise after exercise of questioning. I mean,
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't know how to turn them off. Bless
well,
you, my child.
yeah, thank you. Um, let's see. Well, I'm trying to think of illusions. I mean, magicians do optical illusions all the time. I mean,
Yes.
Well, okay, here's one. And it has to do with physics, right? That when you learn that stuff like the cells in your body is really just made of protons and neutrons, and that, the every atom is just like a proton in the middle and then things swirling around it, but it's
Hmm.
really like mostly empty space. So when you think about like, you sitting on the chair that you're sitting on, like your body, your skin and your clothes, they're mostly just empty space. So how is it that you're even sitting on a chair, which is mostly empty space, and it's holding you up?
hmm,
Weird, right?
that's trippy.
Right. It is
Hmm.
like looking at a screen from across the room, a screen on your window, and then walking over to it. You'll see that the holes are there. And the
Hmm.
holes are larger than the actual screen material.
Hmm. Well, I think it makes me think of Evil Knievel, who like didn't he like flip a motorcycle up and upside down? We keep bringing that one up. Well, it's like the I mean, that seems to defy like what the senses thought could be done at the time. You know what I mean? Like it's like if that happened in his vision realm first, over and over, or like the people who invented the airplane, like at the time, people would say, "No, you can't fly. People can't fly. There's no way you could fly." But this one person kept visioning and visioning and visioning and visioning until they made it happen. And like that is in some ways the reality there is beyond what you can tell with your physical senses at that current moment.
Right. Right. Imagination.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to an easier one. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, we could talk about this for 4 hours.
To make contact with divine or spiritual guidance just for a day, suspend your skepticism. Okay. Do you guys believe in spirit guides?
I don't know enough about them just to know that I do. I also don't know if I have one, so probably a muskrat.
That's it. You're getting a muskrat keychain. Okay, great.
Do
Ended a
you,
really long time
AZ?
ago. I have an index card that I wrote down the name that Andy told me of this spirit that she saw behind me, like pushing me along all the time. That yeah, you said that was my spirit guide, and I'm like, well, what's their name? And then you told it to me, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget.
What is the name?
Shishnandra. And it's wait, you were saying they were what's that word? It starts with an L. Li, li,
Ly- Lyran?
yeah, yeah, Lyran.
Aren't Lyrans like the starseed musicians?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea, but I just wrote down Spirit Guide Shishnadra Lyran.
That's such a cool
Um,
name. I never wouldn't think of that name now. That's a
Yeah, it
cool
was
name.
like 20, it was like 30 years ago, 25 years ago.
was it? You still have it?
Yeah, I still do. I put it in my safe.
Shishnandra. I love that name for you because it is kind of like sounds very Vedic, honestly. It sounds
Yeah, right? It's
yeah,
weird, right?
like yogic, you know what I mean? Oh, that's
Yeah, and that was before I even started doing yoga for like seriously.
Yeah, oh, fascinating. Well, those were like my chart has psychic inclinations, like with the moon in Pisces square Neptune, and like in those years, I was in a lot of psychic transits, and so I was really doing a lot of psychic work, or I had a lot of interest in psychic stuff at the time, and so like, yeah, everyone I knew got a big psychic reading layer of, and in my older age, I've turned into like the spiritual mathematics of astrology mainly, although. Psychic things have happened. Like my friend was just telling me about how her dad had come through me psychically and told me the exact thing he told her the night before. Like I actually worked as a psychic for like 10 years and was really well known for getting things very correct, and like but it's interesting like in my older years I'm medicated first of all, like they put me on a med for schizophrenia, which is like psychicism gone like too far. But also so I don't feel auras in the same way, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that yeah, I totally believe I would have done that and like that might have been real, but I don't know. It could just be
The
fantasy.
very first reading you did for me with me, and we went to some restaurant in Vancouver to talk about it. You got hit in the middle of it, and all of a sudden everything was different, and you were just talking, and I was trying to remember everything you were saying. And
Yeah,
then at some point it kind of faded away, and you came back to the chart. You were looking at the chart again,
yeah.
but it was kind of phenomenal and spot on.
Yeah. Yeah, charts of psychics are real. I mean, that's the weird thing. I think psychics can't really be tested in a lab because the psychicism comes in on transits. It comes in cyclically on transits, and it's not really within the psychic's control. At least this is my experience. Like I would be psychic when it was in my chart to be psychic, and
Mm.
whether it rings the pineal gland or whatever, I mean, I'm not really in control of that part of my chart. So it is what it is. But do I believe in spirit guides in my old age? I mean, I believe it's a concept that's useful to some people. And in fact, I feel like imaginary friends, I've done a lot of studies on this. Like, why are imaginary friends useful to children? I'm not so interested in are spirit guides real, but I'm interested in are they useful? And they are. Like like a really smart kids will talk to imaginary friends, giving them problems that are unsolvable on Earth. Like, you know how there's these times where you have a problem, there's no clear answer, and so the imaginary friend, you like can give it to the imaginary friend, and it helps. It's like it's called rubber ducking in computer software technology. Where do you want to explain what rubber ducking is, Daisy?
Oh no, you do.
It's like when a computer programmer has a problem they need to solve, they'll talk to another computer programmer and just throw the problem at the other person. But what they say is you could throw it at a rubber duck on your computer because it's really just the act of talking to an outside entity that solves the problem. It's not even the person there. So I think a spirit guide is a similar thing sometimes.
Hmm. Huh, that's interesting. It explains something for me too. I know a guy that teaches code at Clark College, and he has a big inflatable rubber duck in his office.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the help desk at the computer lab at a school near me here, if you can ask them any question you want or ask for help for anything, but first you have to go. They have a teddy bear that's sitting on their desk, and you first literally have to ask the teddy bear the question.
Great. That's great. Daisy, do you feel like you're in touch with your spirit guide, or are you aware of your spirit guide? It's probably better.
Yeah, I don't see that I feel I have a spirit guide that's an external entity to myself, but I do feel that like if I'm meditating or something, then I can get in touch with
Hmm.
my intuition. I think it's kind of a bit like the way you talk about it. Like, so say if like your example, Andy, of a child who had an imaginary friend, if they were from like a ultra religious family, they might use the language, like their parent might use the language of like, well, t ask the questions of God or ask Jesus Christ your question or pray for the answer, and the kid would learn to like not talk about their imaginary friend, but instead say like, oh, I prayed to Jesus.
Also an imaginary friend.
Well, I was going to say that my current spirit guide is the most invisible and amazing unseen force, which is God, is my current spirit guide. But I also have a spirit guide. Her name's Lola, and the thing is okay. So spirit guides are part of ancient astrological theory, which is we each have a daimon, is what they call it. Like so, it became demon etymologically. So like a daimon is any spiritual intermediary between God and a person. So they would say that we each have our own daimon, which is your inner genius, actually, because each of us is mechanically built differently according to the chart. So we each have to have our own oversoul to interface between God and a person. But in the Bible, they'll say if someone's talking to their spirit guide, they say, and I've read it in Greek, they say, you are daimonia, like you're obsessed with your own daimon, which is like with your own your own greatest good instead of the greatest good of all concerned, which I think is the God concept. So now in my older age, it's like I'm asking the spirit guide of all concerned in the whole world, what should I do? Not my personal spirit guide of like, what should I do? But that's because I deal with big groups and, it's not really about me. It's about the group. I don't know. I don't know. But
So
I found,
Like Harvey over here. I just asked Harvey.
is that your spirit guide now?
No. Do you know there's a movie called Harvey where the lead character has a 6 foot invisible rabbit.
Oh, interesting.
It's an old movie from the 40s. Jimmy Stewart's in it.
But I think anyone consulting the spirit realm and saying, well, the spirit realm told me XYZ can be seen as like pedantic. It's like, well, your poetic mind told you XYZ. That's all. It doesn't really, it's not like if you act like it's fact, that's kind of an error too, because it's like poetics telling you XYZ.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't go to Poetic for directions, like how to do the next thing next. Not why.
Well, you can if that's what augury is.
I agree. I have to get it back again.
Like let's
Yeah,
say, oh, go ahead, Jay-Z.
yeah, or like you go to a tarot reader or you go to some kind of divination exercise in order to get the answer that you want, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on what the situation is. Like if I was like, what key will unlock my car door? Like consulting the tarot deck is the wrong tool to for that answer. You want to actually try the key out in the or like if you're like, my key won't go into the lock, what should I do? And you ask the tarot deck, no, you should ask your friend who's a car mechanic. They're like, put WD-40 in there. Like, so I think the
Yeah.
poetic realm should be consulted in poetic questions of what is my life purpose? Or what's the meaning of life? Or I don't know, what's it?
Will I meet a hot date in the next month?
Right. Very specific. Got to be a month. So, where are we? 21st of May.
Well, I guess so what he's making the point is if you want to be a spiritual being, make contact with spiritual guidance. Do we agree with that? It makes you more spiritual to have a spirit guide or God?
It might be helpful. I don't know that it would make me more spiritual because spirituality is a kind of ethereal thing to me. And if I started talking to Bernie, no, can't use Bernie, Ralph or Emily as my spirit guide, it would make it more concrete so that all my spirituality would be, uh, I don't know, I might be wrong, but it might make me want to put all my spirituality into this concrete thing so I can understand it better. When the goal of understanding it, my way of thinking is to not make it concrete, is to entertain the idea of it being ethereal and amorphous and undefinable.
What do you think, JC? Can a person be spiritual without utilizing concepts of God and spirit guide?
Yeah, because I think that yeah, it's there. Those are just two abstractions, but I think they might have another one in their personal spiritual viewpoint. But I think maybe it does like a crochet zebra.
My spiritual guide right here.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is so cute.
there's a lot of spirit in that zebra.
I know, I could feel it.
It is so damn cute, though. What the
It
heck?
is.
It is.
It's just shapes. That's what's so weird about them. Why? How can you shapes be so cute? I don't know. So what were you saying, JC?
Oh yeah, no, just that about that maybe goes hand in hand with spiritual, like being a spiritual, being seen as a spiritual person is at least entertaining the ideas of some kind of God or spirits or something. Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, okay, so can I answer the question?
Yeah. What do you
So
think?
I'm gonna be the pedantic guy who's like, I think people who have and utilize concepts such as God and spirit guide have a far more spiritual existence because they can access spiritual thought pictures. So it's like the word like can you get through a day without the word the? Like people wouldn't get through a day without the word the, but they think you can get through the day without the word God or the word spirit guide. And I'm like, you can, but I don't know that you can access certain thought pictures in that day without the concept of God. Like if I have a big thing I'm wrestling, like which should I teach at this school or not? Then I can say, God, what is your will for my teaching life in the next 6 months? Even saying that sentence aligns my mind to like a greater thing in charge of me that's like the greatest good of all concerned in charge of the decision or something. Like without that word, I don't think you can access the same pictures. So I would say people who refuse to utilize concepts such as God and spirit guide are far more concrete and far more mired in the five senses.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense to me, actually.
Whoa. I like how Alexander, he like represents our person who's like he's like I'm living, you're like the more concrete one of us by choice. You know what I mean? And like I think that's interesting. It's fun to play with you. Okay. All right. To connect with the invisible dimension we call death, keep track of your dreams for a short time, particularly those dreams in which you were in the presence of someone who in your life has now passed on. So in this one, he's making the idea that to be spiritual, you should connect with the invisible and dimension of death. What do we think of that?
Well, uh, death doesn't come up in my dreams, nor anyone who's died. So I can't figure out how to relate this to myself or people.
What if we said more than that, the dream part? But what if we just said, in order to be more spiritual, one should wrangle the concept of death?
Do you? Two? You plural?
JZ, do you wrangle the concept of death?
Um, I, wrangle. Well, that's a. I'm not sure about that what you mean by that word, but
About wrangling?
You
yeah, I
face
mean,
it? Do you
oh,
ponder it?
oh, think about it. Yeah, yeah. I think. Yeah, I do think that like acknowledging that and remembering that we all there was a time before we were here in this physical form and there will be a time after we're this physical form doesn't have our spark in it anymore. And that's just the way it is. And acknowledging that I do think is makes you more spiritual.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, thinking about how yeah, there will be a time when you're not here anymore, and that's so in this physical body, and that's fine because that's like the way it is, and so that's totally fine. I think like that is thinking about things like that. Yeah, I would agree with him. Helps you become more spiritual because it helps you appreciate the now more and
Hmm.
be and then also be more compassionate and forgiving because you understand that you're only here for a while. So like why dwell in the negative, you know?
Hmm. Well, I'm
Right.
just going to add to that. So, as a producer, one of the things that happens is if I'm having an artist who's struggling with taking up space on camera or something like that, like I'll talk to them about death a little bit. Like I'll say like, oh, I heard Johnny Cash died the other day or whatever. What do you think of that? You know, because I'm like, you could die tomorrow. Like get your spirit, like your spirit is embodied like right now. Like and in this body, your spirit can act out its inclinations. And the day your spirit pops out, like you no longer create content. Like it's just like I'm just like, oh my God, like the imminence of death makes my spirit want to fly in this body, honestly. That's just one wrangling of death, but I mean there's a million ways you could look at that concept, you know.
Yeah. And I think I ponder it all the time. And what does it mean? And is there something between, the, I've often thought that this thing that we're doing right now is a blip and everything else is long and it's on a continuum. And so every now and then we show up and we live a little bit, but the other thing is much, much longer.
Hmm. This is weird. Like this episode's kind of challenging because it's like it's forcing us to like get poetic or like go into this realm where things aren't necessarily concrete. When you start thinking about death, it's like your mind just goes a million places. And I think
Yeah.
spirituality allows us to go a million places because it's not mired in the concrete. It's you know, when you read a tarot deck, your mind could go a million places with that. That's the fun of divinatory tools or spiritual tools is they allow you like out of the box thinking or you know kind of thing. But it can break your brain too. Like, you know.
Mhm.
Okay, we're supposed to extend the sense of loving guidance in your life. Begin to know that you do not have to sleep to make contact with a soul. If you can connect with the invisible dimension in your sleep, work at believing that the same connection, the same loving guidance is available to you whenever you choose to recognize it. Whoa. So I guess he's suggesting that in our sleep we contact other souls.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure where that I am following him wholeheartedly in the like it matters if the characters in your dreams are dead or alive. Because in your dreams they're neither, both are neither. Nobody's dead or alive. I mean, everybody's still alive in your dreams.
Yeah,
But maybe if we think about that, that everybody's just as alive in your dreams, it's not just their time on Earth, they're still alive. And then what is this next question, Andy?
It's basically that you're supposed to extend the sense of loving guidance, um, beginning to know that you do not have to sleep to make contact with a soul. Is he kind of saying that like in our dreams anything can happen, but you could do that, you could dream while you're awake and be like, in my mind, Jay-Z and I are sitting next to each other right now, or like you can just make whatever true while your eyes are open. You don't have to be dreaming.
right,
Yeah. Yeah, and also the thing of like you don't have to be asleep to remember, like a fun experience that you had with a grandparent who's not here anymore.
right. And is remembering them dreaming about?
Yeah, it's right. It's and so that's I think along the lines of what he's saying now is like you have the power to control your mind and your visions. And they can have characters that are now dead. They can have characters who you never met in real life,
Right,
right? Like
right,
Jesus or something,
right.
like you can maybe that's what praying is too, is just like having going to the movies with Jesus.
That's that's right.
How do
He likes slasher films.
we heavy metal Jesus? Oh,
That's right, heavy metal Jesus. But
so go
it
ahead.
that doesn't quite ring true for me because I very rarely have anybody in my dreams that somebody I know. It's somebody I know really well in the dream, not somebody from real life.
Mhm.
And if I'm trying to, I mean, I have dreams about trying to find my kid, but they're not in the dream. So I rarely have dreams with anyone I know. And they're not people who have passed that I'm longing for, you know, where Aunt
I,
Martha comes up and says, "Here are these blueberry muffins you always liked," doesn't happen.
Well, how do we define a daydream? And how is it like, what's a daydream? Isn't that just visioning?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
with a little bit of help, I think. Like,
Like I feel
go
like as
ahead.
manifestors, we should want to daydream. Like we should be like daydream in the more daydreams in the monitor.
Yeah, that is like, I mean, what's the difference between daydreaming and sitting there thinking of yourself shooting free throws?
Right. I got in the practice in the late '90s where I would come home from work, 3 o'clock or so, and I would put my head back on the couch just to relax, and putting my neck back in this position would make me dream these very intense, lucid dreams. And I kept that up. And I still do it. And really, it doesn't take much for me to have some intense, lucid dream, but I'm not asleep.
Mhm.
And I think that is like between the two worlds. And I trust those dreams because I don't feel like I'm controlling them. You know how in a dream you can say, "Well, I want to go up those stairs," and then you do. I'm not doing any of that. I'm
So
just,
in manifestation, do you control the daydream? It's like a controlled daydream.
I feel like I'm not controlling it.
I know, but like in manifestation,
In
like
manifestation,
because in
you
the
would, yeah.
Fantasia realm, like Fantasias are sent to you by spirit guides. That would be like a passive, look into daydreaming. But like if, or you can construct a vision, which would be like controlled daydreaming, which is like manifestation.
Yeah, and I think it happens at that same state, right? That hypnagogic state borderline between uh wakefulness and sleep.
Yeah.
And and I think that it is like practicing controlling your visions is how to manifest things, and the way that they say to do it is to imagine the wish fulfilled, right? The feeling of having whatever it is you want to manifest fulfilled. And
Mm.
if you just start with that, concentrate on the feeling, then you let go, and then the narrative happens.
Well, this is a good time to end the episode and segue into tomorrow, which is we're doing an episode on psychitecture, right? That's tomorrow.
Yeah,
Which
that's
that's just all based on a book about how to control your mind, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Oh, wow.
It's about organizing your desires and
Fine.
your values.
And yeah, so like I'm excited to read that book because it's like it seems like that one will help us to control our mind and to help us do controlled daydreaming.
Yeah.
Are you just starting that book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
You
going
you
to
with us?
look for it in the library. Designing the Mind, right?
Yeah. It's by a guy whose name is Ryan. What's his last name? I don't know. He doesn't say. It just says Designing the Mind LLC Inc.
Wow.
Huh.
I'm so
Well,
glad
it's
you're
not
back
coming
home,
up in the
Jay-Z.
library. What's that?
So glad Jay-Z's back home.
Yeah, it's good to have you back
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's back
and back in your castle.
back in the palace.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
And what is it you're doing tomorrow? What is this class tomorrow? Is that the Enlightenment?
No, we're doing YouTubing on psychitecture.
I'll have to look for it when you're finished.
All right. All right,
Yeah.
Jay-Z, I'll see you tomorrow
Good
and
to
All
see
right.
you guys.
all right.
See
Bye.
you
Good to see you.
Sunday.